Toby Phelps. You are managing partner and head of European equity at BentallGreenOak. Thank you for joining us on BiTV.
Thank you.
BentallGreenOak has announced the final close of its European Core Plus Logistics Fund with a total of 695 million euros in commitments. What will your investment strategy be for this vehicle?
So we've been investing in the European logistics sector for over 7 years now. In that time, we've acquired the best part of 150 different assets, about 5 million square meters of space across Europe. So it's a sector we've been very active in for a long period of time. But as we started off that investing activity, we were doing that through our value add fund series. And as we established our position in the market, our local relationships, our knowledge of the sector, we were increasingly being shown opportunities on more stabilized assets that we thought were very interesting, that we thought would offer a very attractive risk-adjusted return opportunity to investors, but didn't fit the risk-return profile of our funds at that time. So we very much launched this fund to take advantage of that combination of our expertise, knowledge in the sector, combined with the opportunities we were seeing that didn't conflict with existing strategies. So that's really the background.
Okay. And this is BentallGreenOak's first fund entirely dedicated to the European logistics sector. What has attracted you to this market?
So as I said, we started investing in this market back in 2014, 2015. And at that time, we identified a number of the themes that are driving the market still today. So obviously, the growth in e-commerce activity is very topical, particularly in light of the last 12 months we've been through in Europe. But even back in 2015, you could see that Europe was behind in the evolution of e-commerce, the penetration of e-commerce into overall consumer activities versus the rest of the developed world, versus the US, versus the developed economies in Asia, and indeed even the UK. So we saw that evolution in other markets, and we really felt that Europe had a tremendous opportunity to benefit from that growth in e-commerce activity. And yet in the underlying markets, there was not the supply of modern, well-located logistics warehouses for the anticipated growth in demand that we thought we would see. And indeed, the sector was not as of interest to institutional investors, certainly as it is today. So that was the original reason why we started focusing on that sector. And about 70% of all of our investing activity since then has been in this sector. So it's been very much a sector that we count ourselves as experts in. So this fund, as I said, was really an evolution of the opportunities that we were seeing in the market, the expertise we have in the space, and then, to be honest, reacting to what our investors were saying they would like us to be doing. You know, there is clearly a lot of institutional capital demand for an increased exposure to the logistics sector. We think, like most we think that the returns that you can generate from this sector will look very attractive on a risk-adjusted basis versus other sectors to invest in. And so, you know, we really felt that it made sense to just have this fund focus purely on this sector, give investors what they were looking for in combination with our particular expertise, market knowledge, market access.
Okay, and therefore, what role will France play in this strategy?
So we've always been an investor in France. We very much like the French market, particularly for logistics. You know, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've invested about 700 million euros in logistics in France, around the main logistics hubs, around Paris, around Lyon, around Marseille, along the main logistics corridors. And so again, through that experience, initially through our value add funds, we really really started to build up our knowledge of the French market. We like that combination, again, like in other parts of Europe, growing tenant demand, limited supply of modern institutional quality warehousing. And France sits at a pretty interesting point if you think about the sort of geography of Europe. It has into the north access to Europe's major ports, and through towards the south into other parts of Europe, down into Spain, into Italy, obviously along its eastern border connectivity to Germany, Switzerland, etc. So France has always been an important market. It's obviously a big economy. So we like the French market. In fact, the first investment we made in this fund was a French opportunity. We invested in 7 assets, again, in the main hubs of France as our first investment in this fund. We're continuing to evaluate opportunities. We recently closed another French investment for our value add fund. And indeed, we've recently hired a new member of the team based in Paris, Julian Bernheim, to really boost our efforts in the French market.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for this insight. Thank you all for joining us. See you soon on BiTV.
Thanks very much.